One more time, and good morning, everyone. A Saturday, the 31st of January. January's gone, 2026. Good old 710 KNUS on Peter Boyles. Thanks for staying here. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather, mild, breezy, and 56. And tomorrow, 61 degrees. And Monday, 60 degrees. We have a lot of open lines straight ahead, but I want to go to work. Please say good morning and welcome back to the radio show. Truly one of the best. Brother Jeff is with us. And the first part of this week, it was announced that Dr. Daddio, a true radio legend in Denver, has passed away. And Jeff, of course, knew him very, very, very well. Actually worked for Daddy as a young guy at KDKO. And I, of course, knew Daddy real well. And the two of us, and we're actually going to do something for the funeral celebration of Jimmy's life. Thanks, brother, and welcome back to the show, and good morning.
Well, Peter, it's great to be with you. And I saw Patty Calhoun earlier this week, and she said it best, end of an era. And then you and I did my show together, and we're reminiscing on the great Jimmy Dr. Daddio Walker, James Dr. Daddio Walker. I mean, he meant so much to us and to so many. And it's just, our hearts are at half-mast this morning.
What was his age when he passed? How old was he?
Daddio was 86 years old.
Yeah, I thought so. Wow, what a life. I mean, I got to know him, and then we worked together, but I got to know him away from the business, and then, of course, that he produced the sound of and you were talking about this the other day, before gentrification, when the neighborhood was in many ways walled up culturally, and Jimmy was the voice of the middle of that, was he not?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Daddio's house, so I've known him all my entire life, and he's always been a strong voice. You remember when there was an incredible presence of black people in Five Points, and then also in Park Hill. He was always a voice, not only on the radio before he owned the radio, but, him and Carlos Landos and Cosmo Harris. Sure. There was just this whole cadre of individuals in communication that were the voice, and he was definitely a strong voice for marginalized communities, but at the forefront of that soul music era as well, which they called race music at the time.
Oh, it was all kinds of things, and those of us who grew up in cities that we thought they were O&Os, owned and operated, and oftentimes they were not, but the lineup was were black jocks and played the music that the top 40 white boys didn't play, and there were always these different choices in a city. In Pittsburgh, there was KQV, that was the Kim radio of its time. It was top 40, and the disc jockeys talk like this. They had that mannerism, and then there was Whammo for us, WAMO, and every kid in our neighborhood. And the afternoon drive guy was a white guy. His name was Porky Chadwick, and we all had Porky Chadwick Soul, SOUL, Soul security cards in our back pockets. I mean, that was what we listened to. We didn't listen to the top 40 stations, and because we thought we were cool, and perhaps we were. I don't know, but Jimmy brought that format. He bought a country station, did he not?
Well, yeah, actually, KDKO was an AM station that was playing country and western music, and then Daddio said he came to town with a bag full of soul, and approached. I believe it was Dave Siegel at that time, who was the owner, and convinced him to change the format temporarily to this sound of R&B. It wasn't played anywhere, and it was so successful that the entire format changed from country and western to completely R&B, and then that's when you started having these black DJs, disc jockeys that were coming on, and that was the start of soul music right here on the airwaves in Colorado.
And then he bought the stick and he moved it into the neighborhood, correct?
Yeah, now, remember it used to say Littleton, Denver. That was where the transmitter was, but he actually purchased the radio station and became an owner, and his first move was to move it into 5 Points.
Oh.
Now, this wasn't a time when 5 Points was what it is now in terms of gentrified and, has bike lanes and, the streets are repaired. It was a very difficult time. And Daddio chose to be in the center of that as a part of, restoring the community with a strong presence. They call it anchors in the real estate world.
Yeah.
KDKO was an anchor in 5 Points because the Rusonian had been, out of commission for, decades. And so the Daddio brings KDKO to 5 Points and actually infuses economic life right there into that community.
And then they started bringing in shows, and and he, I think, and you and I spoke about this privately. I think I got the last time that Jimmy was on the air, and you guys brought him over, and he was with me on a Saturday, and he told stories for a couple of hours. But he had the Jacksons, he had James Brown. I mean, he really, really, really was a promoter.
Yeah, actually, he was a promoter locally and also nationally, even before he purchased the radio station. And so, he was always good friends, because he had that communications background. They were breaking records. They were a part of the music industry. So his colleagues were James Brown, B.B. King, Aretha Franklin, the Jackson Fives. He was able to help establish, Earth, Wind, and Fire. A third of that group comes out of Park Hill. And so Daddio was certainly a promoter, and he put together this book, Radio in My Soul. And you, Peter, were the last interview that he had given. You were absolutely, you have the final interview of Dr. Daddio because he was on your show, and we were talking about his life, talking about the book. And as a matter of fact, you were going to be on my show, where you were on the show last week, but I had texted you early in the morning and said, Dr. Daddio had passed, so you were also the first one, to talk about his passing publicly. So you're kind of bookends to this, Peter.
I went over to the gas station and I met him when I was a traffic reporter and still going to school, and went over, and I'm trying to think of who took me over there. And when I met Jim, and that's where I met your mom. I'm sure I met your mom. I mean, I did. Somebody's asking me, did Doc did he have a record store, Brother Jeff?
Yeah, he had a record store in the Dahlia Shopping Center, but it was actually Pat's Record Parlor, and it was named after his wife, so it was Pat's Record Parlor. So yes. There was a Trey King on KUVO was talking about winning some LPs. She called them LPs.
Still do.
In the contest, and didn't have a way to get way out to, I don't know, not Green Valley Ranch, but the Tech Center or somewhere to pick them up. And he said, you know what, just come, where do you live? She said, Park Hill. He said, I'll just take them over to Pat's Record Parlor, and you could pick them up there.
He had so many great tag outs when he would say, live, coming to you live in a living color. What color am I coming through to you? The Daddio house party. And he was a jock. He really was a jock.
Oh, yeah, I'm loose as a goose, broke as a joke, and here for anything that don't cost money. I'm the boss with the hot sauce, and if you don't know, you better ask somebody. When he came to 5 Points, the tagline was unity in the community.
Yeah. I got to read you something that just came in. Peter, oh boy, another lecture from Peter about Negro music. Utter anti-white crap. Some of your best friends are Negroes. As big a load of getting toys for illegals. This is the guy that when we do the toy run every year, take toys to the hospital at Children's, and just to give you an idea what we deal with. But it's interesting that now the guy's on me for this. But we take toys every year to the kids, And it's like, and now I got this one. Here, let me read this to you. Pete, when I was in middle school, late 70s, life was defined by radio station bumper stickers, KBPI, KZ, etc. Everywhere and stuck on anything, but KDKO stickers were new and not top 40 crap wasteland in Denver and cool. R.I.P. Daddio. That's very kind.
Yeah.
That I think, and I know myself growing up that we listened to black music, and I think there was a ton of white kids in Denver that listened to Daddio. I really believe it.
Well, I believe that the whoever texted a message about here's another lecture from Peter about black music, I guarantee you the soundtrack of his life, is defined by what was considered black music, because that is what the commercials he's listening to. That's the when he goes to a wedding reception, I guarantee you he's dancing to it. I know that he's more connected to music that was produced by black people. But here's the thing: good music crosses all boundaries.
Yes.
And if we're able to understand that music brings us together more than it tears us apart, then that person who wrote that will be able to reflect on that and say, hey, I really do have something in common with black culture and with the vibration that, brings joy and comfort to many households.
It really was. I mean, I didn't like the shrimp boats are coming. That music didn't work for me, but it was the music that we liked. Here's another message in: I'm all white boy. I'm better suburbs white boy because of Daddio. Isn't that a nice one?
Yeah.
Jimmy had, I think, to the kids growing up in Denver, I think Jimmy had a big impact. And I know Porky, on me we did, yeah.
Well, just think to anybody who's listening, just ask them the impact of Motown on world culture. Just ask the impact of, say, the Jackson 5 or Prince or Michael Jackson or James Brown or Beyonce or when you get into the blues or you get into hip hop. Just think of the world impact, and I think that most people would agree that it brings us together, and that's what I think that the world is trying to figure out now. They're trying to figure out what music has already done, and that's how people can come together across these artificial boundaries, particularly around like race.
Let me read this and then take some calls. Peter, to the fool who texted about the Mexican toys, now Negro music, what a sad, pathetic character. He cannot be happy in his soul, although he makes me angry. I pity him. I'll just read them. Let's go to Johnny. Johnny, you're on the radio show. Our guest, Brother Jeff. Good morning on a Saturday.
Well, I was an intern for him, Dr. Daddio, back in 1997.
Wow.
I'm originally impaired. And so James Brown did a concert, and after the concert, he came to the station, and I'm 5'8". I didn't realize he was that short.
James Brown's little.
And,
he's a little guy. Yeah.
And I gave him because I always take my tape recorder with me, and I had him. I said, could you do an intro for me? And he ran it off, and I still play that thing today when I do internet radio. And I also wanted to ask, okay, I used to listen to Syl Morgan in the Morgan.
Oh yeah.
And he had all these these liquor commercials, and I was wondering, like, why is it on a Christian, it's a Christian show, whatever. But was that because that was most of the business people that he could get? Because
well, no, I mean, I don't think so, because it used to be when Bob Lee and I did the morning show on KLAK, and Coors had a rule: they would not buy any radio programming before noon, and except Bob and I, because we were such maniacs about Coors beer, and they bought our morning show and paid for the newscast, but it was there were some rules back then too, John, that you didn't sell alcohol on the air until a certain time, and remember, they never sold whiskey.
But it was so good. They're playing spiritual music, but you're hearing other spirits come through the commercials. It was just funny to me as a kid.
What was your job with Daddio? You were his intern?
Yeah, they had a bunch of interns, and some of these interns had an attitude because there's more than being on the air jobs. And, they're trying to teach them the whole thing so you can do other jobs. And they said, oh, we want to be on the air. And I said, and the lady that was in charge of it, which I think she was related to Daddio, it was just a lot of attitude.
Here you go, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, here's an email, or a text rather. I used to listen to Daddio and Brother Jeff on Saturdays, enjoyed their point of view, never missed it, and I'm white trash. There's one. Let me see. Actually, I'm very happy white male American Christian who knows the truth. Okay, that's the same guy that doesn't call but sends messages. Yeah, no, John, I like I said, you're learning it again right now if you don't already know it.
John, I would say this. I was also privileged to run Dr. Daddio's intern program for a while, and I remember folks like Tony V when they first came in. There's so many people, Becky Davis Taylor. Most of the individuals who did not go to broadcasting school had an opportunity to go to school in the community and learn exactly what you said, John, not just what happens behind the microphone, but they learn production, they learn sales, they learn communication. I mean, coming through Dr. Daddio's intern program was one of the best learning experiences in radio that anybody could ever find anywhere.
Yeah. And the mystery man was his son, which I don't know, not a lot of people probably knew at the time.
Yeah.
At least yeah. And then there was this one lady who was, she was a Martinez, but Daddio would come in out their ship and she didn't put her records up, right? And he would get on her saying, like, what is this? It's like these DJs, and she was getting pretty high up there, but he just got on her because when you leave a ship, put the stuff back up so the other DJ can come in and start off fresh.
That's it.
Yeah, you had to flip the carts upside down, the ones you played, and all the different things. Daddio was I would say he was very firm, and yes, Ricky Walker was the mystery man. That was his son, and the lady you were talking about, Yolanda, that was his daughter. His wife, Pat, the lovely Pat Walker, rest in peace, who Daddio and those two are together right now, ran that station. So it was really a community, family-owned station like no other.
I loved it. I loved hanging out with them and stuff like that. And I never did talk to the other interns saying like, hey, calm it down. But it was just nice just hanging out and seeing him do his thing. So
I got to get another call in here. John, thanks. Let's go to Robert. Robert, you're on the radio show. Good morning. Our guest, of course, Brother Jeff. Robert, you're up.
Hey, good morning, brother man.
Hey, man.
Dr. Daddio predates my time in Colorado, so I never had the pleasure of hearing his show. And I've heard you talk about him before. And I mean, he sounds like he would have been an awesome guy.
He's a good guy.
But the point that you guys bring up about the kind of variety of music, I was very blessed. I believe blessed anyway.
Hey, but let me do this, Robert. I'm going to put you on hold and put Brother Jeff on hold. We're next to the turn. We'll give you plenty of time. We have a line open, 303-696-1971. Brother Jeff's our guest. We're talking about the passing of Jimmy Walker, Dr. Daddio. 56 the high today, 61 on Sunday. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. This is Denver's Talk Station. Hang on.
Your 710 5-day forecast this Saturday. We're bringing out the sunshine and we're bringing out the late January warmth. Highs will hit the upper 50s over the plains with lows tonight resting in the lower 30s. Sunday, sunny with highs in the lower 60s. Then the weekend, we'll start to get a little more cloud cover to return Sunday night into Monday. Low Sunday night, lower to mid 30s with highs Monday in the low 60s. Dropping into the low to mid 50s Tuesday and Wednesday. We could see a few hit and miss rain and snow showers. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Charlie Daniels. There you go. South's going to do it again. Singing about them Southern bands. Barefoot Jerry and CCD. And I got a Charlie Daniels story. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. Morning, everybody. 56 the high today. 61 on Sunday and Monday, 60. I got to read a bunch of messages here, and then we'll go back to the callers and the guest. Brother Jeff was with us. Can't let the memory of his deeds die. As much as Dr. Daddio has done for Denver, there should be a street or a park named after him, maybe the new park in Park Hill. This is a great name, Peach Queen. Good morning, Peter. Enjoy listening to your guest. I'm learning a lot. R&B and Motown is among my favorite music genres. There's a public radio station called KUVO, plays real jazz, also plays R&R. I know the station well. Peter, I grew up on WDZZ as well as watching Uncle Don back in Michigan. Also a metalhead. Great music is great music. Brings people together despite what that idiot text. This one just says, too young to know about the musical roots of soul in Denver. Instead, I grew up on rap and Metallica, mostly white and Mexican kids, rap and Metallica. 710 KNUS, Brother Jeff is our guest. Dan Kaplis Law Firm. Danny's my guy. And again, if you need a lawyer or just need questions answered, Dan Kaplis suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you and everybody involved in the case. Dan Kaplis, the son of a cop, we've talked about how he grew up, run the golf scholarship, came to Colorado, former seminarian, dedicated the last 40 years of his life helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Kaplis is the only attorney in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado cases. Danny's believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. I know when our family had some issues, Danny came in and he came to the rescue. Kaplis Law, the official law firm of the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. He's my friend. Dan Kaplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Danny accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis, and he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard and ability to pay. So if you need Danny's help, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com, CAPLISlaw.com, 303-770-5551. Our guest is Brother Jeff. We're talking about the passing of Jimmy Walker, Dr. Daddio. Robert in Littleton, you're back up. It's yours.
All I was saying is I feel very blessed because I had a dad that brought me up on, old school classic country music, and then a mom that was very into, Smokey Robinson and the Temptations and, kind of the Motown stuff and this variety. And then my older sister was a metalhead. My older brother was more of a blues guy. He introduced me to John Lee Hooker and Phoebe and Muddy Waters and whatnot. And I've had this privilege of listening to and enjoying music from every genre that you can possibly think of, and it lightens my heart because the first time my daughter, who is my youngest, is now 16, listened to Pantera and heard a Dimebag Darrell solo, she got this look on her face like, oh my God, I've just heard the voice of God kind of thing. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I was listening, oddly enough, listening to Muddy Waters, and she got that same look on her face. And I'm thinking about this vast disparity in the type of music, and that it impacted her in the same way. And it just makes me think, there is such a beauty in so many things if you're willing to stop for a second and listen for it. And it's there, man. It's just there, and it sounds like that was the same thing you were listening to, man.
Yeah,
it pleased the ear, and so it was good.
Robert, who was your group, your band, yours? I mean, above all others.
When I was young, Iron Maiden, because it was my first show, very first concert. I was 7 years old. My oldest sister took me to it.
Right.
The Killers World Tour. Now, probably Volbeat. Because they are such an eclectic band that mixes so many different styles together and doesn't sound like anybody else.
Right.
But my go-tos are always the classics. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, who has God rest his soul. You know.
Let me bounce it off of Jeffy. Jeff, who was your group, your band, that was yours premier?
Oh my gosh! When I was young and sitting in the back of Dr. Daddio, like it had an LTD, they had these 8 tracks, and all we would hear Earth, Wind and Fire. We'd hear the Commodores. We'd hear Brass Function, and I mean all of the soul music, and then also those individuals that don't understand the roots of rock and roll. You're going to find Chuck Berry, you know, the blues. You're going to find country music. So the beautiful thing about music is, just like Robert said, good music is good music, and I just remember a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire.
Love Earth, Wind and Fire. That was one of those. I always said this when we were like coming out of middle school into high school. If you saw a kid hitchhiking to some girl's house, and if he had a Johnny Mathis album under his arm. Now he's heading for short strokes, right? He's. I mean, you see guys, and then you know you didn't go hitchhiking to some girl's house with a James Brown LP. That wasn't going to work, you know. But if you saw Johnny Mathis, or you saw, you know, that kind of music, and that later became that Motown sound of, you knew that guy was into something. But that was always the giveaway. What you were hitchhiking with going to that girl's house, and
I was reminded of the guy who said he couldn't understand how the liquor was being sold during the gospel show, and I'm saying, well, imagine us kids listening to James Brown talking about "Try Me." What are you talking about?
You've got the power.
Try me.
Try me. I saw James Brown live. I'm 5 times maybe, and then he did and then because of Wellington Webb got me the radio interview, and I got to speak to James Brown, and I have it on an 8-track. Remember the little cassettes, and I kept it.
Oh yeah,
I kept it. He was, I mean, when he figured out I at least knew a lot about his music, and then he stayed. He was going to give like 10 minutes, and he ended up doing 45 minutes with us. But he's James Brown. I mean, and he had his own set of demons, and Daddy knew him, man. Jimmy talked about him. He talked about knowing him, and I went.
Well, they were friends.
Yeah, indeed.
You'd be at the radio station and you just hear him in the back room talking to his friends, and it would be B.B. King and James Brown and Gladys Knight. And I met James Brown in the back production studio in KDKO and was able to talk to him and be with him. And when you talk about demons, if you want to talk about artists, you want to talk about the music industry, you will see a lot of things behind the scenes that most folks don't see when these artists get on the stage. So, you know, that's a part of the business.
And he was from Augusta, Georgia. He was James Brown.
Yes.
He was. Well, who's next on the call up at the top up there? I'm looking at callers. We got to say that again? Oh, okay. We're still talking to him? We still got him? Okay. Because we're getting things jumping around, bouncing around here. But again, I think that Jimmy was the guy who brought that into Denver, Colorado. Is there any argument, Jeffrey, that
None at all. I mean, Daddio was not just a radio person. He was also an incredible businessman because, yes, he owned KDKO Radio, but he also owned the radio station in Arizona. You know, Dr. Daddio's Kitchen on Wheels.
Yeah.
You know, he had, construction companies. You know, he had water. He had land that had oil on it. I mean, he was a consummate business person who knew the power of ownership, not just having the answer to someone, but having the responsibility of making payroll. And a lot of people don't understand that owners, take on the responsibility of opening businesses, but they also are responsible for making sure families are taken care of. And so it can't be understated in terms of those entrepreneurs who make it possible for people to have lives that they fully enjoy. Someone has to take those risks, and Daddio was one that would always do it.
James Brown owned a radio station. He owned, I think he owned a couple, but
Yeah.
He owned one. He owned one in Augusta, and they're called Segways. And then we'll go right back to the calls. But you punched a cart. You played this record, and then you punched a cart, and then it segued into the next. It was a bridge, and the one that James Brown had that said, "When I was a little boy, I used to shine shoes in front of this building. Today I own it."
Yeah.
And then he would say,
absolutely.
Yeah, and then he says, let's go to Jack. Jack, you're on a radio show. Brother Jeff's our guest. We're talking about the loss of Dr. Daddio. Jack, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. You know what I'm going to say. I grew up in New York. I was only like 20 minutes from the Apollo Theater in Harlem, and we used to go to the matinees, my friends of mine and myself, and we saw James Brown when he first broke out, basically. And what we were impressed by was what a powerful voice he had. I mean, he didn't need amplifiers.
No. He was something else. He was. I think he probably. Well, he when I talked to him, and he talked to me about how much he influenced Michael Jackson, how he taught Michael Jackson how to dance. He claimed it. And I go, okay.
Well, he was way before Michael Jackson.
Oh, I know, but he said he taught Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah, later on, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moonwalk and all that.
Oh, JB.
Yeah.
He was one of a kind.
If you think about, like, say, for example, sportscasting right now, and you've got these Stephen A. Smiths and you've got Shannon Sharp and The Take and all of these talk hosts that really bring flavor to sports radio, Theory Smith was the foundation of all of that, and he came out of KDKO, and he had those callers like Cowboy Luke Duke and all of them, and they'd have these takes and, just the fire of making sports radio what it is today. Even that comes out of KDKO via Theory Smith.
Yeah, T and I worked together, and then Irvin Joe and Theory Smith, and then they had a trifecta where it was Dave Logan, Irv Brown, and Joe Williams, and Theory Smith was the lead. And, of course, for people that don't know, Theory was in a wheelchair. And I think his daughter's an attorney now, isn't she? Is she in town here, or is she back east?
Yeah, she is. And I just remember when Theory he started having some very severe health issues.
Yep.
And Daddio was the one that reconfigured the radio station KDKO to allow him to continue broadcasting, through a different setup and a different system. But he still continued even while he was having those challenges.
Now, Theory was actually very good. He was
very good.
Yeah, there wasn't anybody giving Theory anything. He was a hard worker, and his wife would come to work with him, took care of him. Those were good times. I mean, they were different than what we're talking about now. They were really good times. Denver radio was next week, by the way, for 2 hours in studio, another radio legend, Steve Keeney, and that name doesn't mean anything except that he ran Kim Radio, and then he ran KHOW back when it was Hal and Charlie, and back when Kim Radio was Kim Radio, and they were running the city, and Keeney was the boss, and he's going to come sit and tell stories for 2 hours next Saturday. And those guys, I mean, it was a different time. Daddy, now, Jeffrey, now what? You get it off the internet, you can get it anywhere out of your car, you get anywhere you want it. And Jack, that's true as well. But not back then. it was
not then.
No.
You can get it anywhere, but you can't get the quality anywhere. I'm talking about this was a time where communications was superior. You had to have the gift of gab. You had to entertain. You had to hold somebody through a break. Hit those sweepers and do an entire segment where people would hold on and hang on. And so I know that there are individuals that still do that, but to be in the midst of legends who have created it is amazing. Peter, I want to just tell you that the family, of course, I know how much they love you, et cetera. They requested that you would be at the services and share words, and I know that you will. But if you have some words for the family right now in the community, just straight from Peter, what would you say to the family right now? Again,
I think he was New Cut Road. What what he was doing. I mean, I grew up on a black station, and I'm sure Jack did in New York, and a lot of other guys. But Denver didn't have that. And when that man came to town, he did so many different things at once. But principally, he changed the listening habits for a lot of young people, and I think he turned a lot of people onto the music. And then, as you point out, I'm just getting this text right now. This says, Theory Smith, what a brave man. He never quit. I like to think about him. Isn't that nice, Jeff? I mean, that just came out
Absolutely.
of nowhere. Just came out of nowhere about T.
It's called legacy. Legacy.
Yeah, about T. You know, and he, oh man, I mean, he, we used to go. I mean, so many things with Theory, and
he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman. You know, I mean, when you talk about someone who was not only talented and well respected, he carried himself in a way that was, you know, the era where there were ladies and gentlemen, and Theory Smith was certainly a gentleman.
You want to hang on through one more break?
Absolutely.
Hang on. Brother Jeff's here, 303-696-1971, the loss of Jimmy Walker, Dr. Daddio. It's a Saturday, January 31, 2026. Hang on. Here you go. Huh? The kinds of music we were talking about. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Tonight, 710 KNUS on a Saturday morning. Good morning, everyone. The 31st of January. Talking about losing Dr. Daddio. Saturday weather. It's going to be breezy and 56 and 61 on Sunday. It's good music, and we'll talk to Jeff. A lot of those guys came out of East High School and were mentored by Jimmy Walker. Tell you about, again, 710 KNUS Denver's talk station. Good morning, everybody. Water Pros, our friends at Water Pros, caring about the quality of your water. You can remove forever chemicals and microplastics and hard water with Water Pros, and they have a Peter Boyles special named after moi. Start the process. You go to waterpros.net and sign up for your free in-home consultation. They come to the family unit and they test your water. You can stand there and watch them do it. Answer all your questions and concerns about your water. I trust these guys, and you will as well. Water Pros, a family-owned and veteran-owned business dedicated to providing you with the best in water treatment for far less than the other guys. Go to waterpros.com today and request your free water test. They will come to the house, and you standing right in front of you, and they'll do the test. 303-862-5554, 303-862-5554, 303-862-5554. Ask for the Peter Boyles special today. I'm going to read a bunch of these, and then we'll go to the phones. R.I.P. Daddio. I grew up in Chicago on black radio stations with awesome music and DJs. Moved to Denver in the 80s, discovered KDKO. Appreciate the similar impact it had on all of us. Us white kids in the suburbs dug the music, but these kinds of stations did more than just play music. They shaped culture and the difference between radio then and radio now. This one says, truly all great men, so inspiring. There's good stuff. So Brother Jeff is with us. Let's go to Ron in Morrison. Ron, you're on the radio show with Brother Jeff and Peter Boyles. It's all yours.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Doing well.
Hey, listen, I remember Dr. Daddio. My brother Larry and I owned Goodman Buick on South Broadway, and we used to advertise on the station, and what a showman. But he's sincere and sensitive man as well, and he got the idea out of, you've been on radio a long time. I'm sure he didn't think of the remotes, but he would come to our dealership with this remote that he sold us, and we'd pack the blacktop. There'd be people everywhere listening to good music, having fun, and Daddio was definitely the commander of the whole thing. Miss him already.
Yeah, remotes were a big part of jocking. And if you were, like I worked with Bob Lee, he was my mentor. And we did every Saturday, we'd have a remote. And then there used to be something called all the beer you can drink for $1. And you can't do that anymore, but we had a guy, Paul Murray, had Murray Distributor. He was a beer distributor, and we had like really bad beer, and we used to have the running joke that it was actually my Uncle Gene's joke from Iron City Beer. Iron City was the local brew that we grew up on, and my Uncle Gene said, they sent a sample of Iron City beer off to the chemist, and the note came back and said, your horse is very sick. But
well, I could say, Ron, I probably was at many of those remotes. We used to bring out this big old It was a radio. It was a big radio balloon, and we would
Exactly.
we broadcast from the middle of this huge KDKO radio, and so those remotes were huge. So much so when Peter said, today, you could get information anywhere. That's not how it was. Those remotes would bring people out, and that's why you have the parade here in Colorado as one of the largest tributes to Dr. Martin Luther King, is because Daddio and the radio station would come and do these remotes right here from City Park. He was huge on on Daddy Bruce with those remotes from the Daddy Bruce food giveaways. And so, yes, it was radio, but it was also those remotes that Ron is talking about, which brought people together in droves.
How about this one, fellas?
Absolutely.
How about
Absolutely.
this one? We had a van, but Bob and I, and there was something we did that was called Prize Patrol. And you would be driving around the city, and then you call to the on-air guy and say, we're now at, whatever it was in Wadsworth, and we'll be here for 15 minutes. People would storm you, man, because we had tickets and, and shirts and stuff and baseball hats. That was the Prize Patrol. I remember doing Prize Patrol on a Friday a lot and get yourself into serious trouble, but it was good.
Well, I can recall one time he told me one of the first remotes he did for us, when nobody showed up at first. So I got a little nervous, and my brother Larry and I said, well, Jim, Dr. Daddio, what's going on? He said, man, they all probably had a good night. They'll be here.
I got remote stories that'll light you up, man. Woo.
And he was right. Everybody flocked in. Again, filled up the blacktop. We sold lots of cars, had a lot of fun, and he was a hell of a guy.
That's a great way to say it, Ron. That's a great way to say it. He knew the business.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, all things aside, he knew the business.
And different than a lot of people, he cared. I mean, he didn't want us to get, and we were new to the black community. I'm a white guy from Littleton. I mean, and he knew that we had a product that people would really buy, but he was very, very sensitive to taking advantage of anybody. At least at our dealership he was. And he loved what we did. He knew how honest we were, and he just packed us. We loved it.
Well, I'll tell you that he was also very proud of the of the book that he put out. It's called Radio in My Soul, Radio in My Soul, and that's what we were talking about on Peter's show. The family has a statement, and I'd like to tell you the words from the family, which says, with hearts full of love and gratitude, we announce the peaceful transition of our beloved father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, James Dr. Daddio Walker. He has gone home to meet the Lord and to reunite with his beautiful wife, Pat. We thank each of you for your prayers, love, and unwavering support. You have shown our family his life was profound, purposeful, and deeply impactful. The legendary voice that carried us through sunshine, rain, and long afternoon drives home. He touched generations, shaped lives, and leaves behind a legacy of faith, strength, wisdom, and, of course, unity in the community. A love that will continue to live through us all. And so that's to the community from the Walker family.
Wow.
Well, there you go, brother. You cannot say it any better than that.
Yeah, well, Ronnie, I'll give you next to the last comment. I'll give Brother Jeff the last comment. Ron, your comment about your experience with him.
Always good, always upbeat. He was a true professional, and he made you laugh a lot, but he had a lot of things he said that were really, really, you had to listen to him because he had so much wisdom from where he'd been. That's my memory of him. Always sharp, looked good, on the cue, and you could take whatever he told you to the bank.
Again, Brother Jeff, take the last one, please.
The family is preparing for a homegoing celebration. It's tentatively Saturday, February the 7th at Cleo Parker Robinson's Dance Theater. There's a website, Daddio, drdaddio.com, for more information, more updated information Lots of love coming from all over the country, all over the world in honor of Dr. Daddio. And most people don't know that he was also an ordained deacon. I was there when he was ordained as a deacon in the church, and he would always sign off his show saying, God loves you, Daddy Bruce loves you, and I love you too, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And so with that spirit, long live Dr. Daddio.
That was a tagline. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Jeffrey. And Ron, the caller, thank you. And, hey, Jeff, that was a great hour, man. That really worked well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll talk to you, brother, man. Thank you. All right, everybody. We got open lines straight ahead. A lot to talk about. The Epstein files have been released, 50% more to go. The national strike was a failure, and Don Lemon arrested. Lots for open lines. Here we go, 710 KNUS.